Hey gang, Brian here. If you're coming to this episode from a podcast called Bring Me the Axe, I'd like to assure you that you're in the right place. Dave and I decided that before we got too deep into this podcast business, we changed the name of the show to something a little more original. As it happens, there's like 6 podcasts called The Brothers Grimm. It's hard enough already to stand out amongst all the other horror podcasts. Why make it harder on ourselves by confusing ourselves with other shows? From now on, we're the Bring Me the Axe Horror Pod. And if you want to connect with us on other platforms, you can find us simply by Googling Bring Me the Axe Horror Podcasts. We're everywhere. And now, on with the show. Listening to the Brothers Grimm podcast, presented by the Cinema Suicide Film Society on Substack. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, you can find us on Twitter at GrimmBrosPod. And if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. Also, you'd be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I just want to get all that out of the way right at the top of the show. I'm Brian White, editor-in-chief of Cinema Suicide. I'm joined by my co-host and actual brother, Dave White. Dave, how you doing?
Well, pretty good.
All right, not bad. So we practically grew up in neighborhood video stores. Steady diet of utter garbage that those shops provided us with continues unabated to this day. And there's no one else I enjoy chopping it up with more about trashy movies than Dave. So, this one. I've been looking forward to it. I had not seen this before. I tried to watch it several times. Over the years. I had like a VHS bootleg of it like a million years ago when I was trading tapes, and like I never managed to make it very far because it is a very special kind of movie, and I just guessed I was never really in the mood for it at the time. But this is such a strange movie.
It's an experience.
It's a real experience. So let's give you a taste of what's coming up here.
Warning. What you will see in the movie Pieces cannot be revealed, cannot be described, cannot even be imagined. And you don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. Pieces, it's exactly what you think it is. Pieces. Absolutely no one under 17 will be admitted.
Okay, so the movie that we're watching is 1982's Pieces, as we go back to the well in 1982, which, you know, I'm telling you what, as I go over more movies released that year, as I did in the last one and the one before that, man, 82, 81, chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's when they figured it out. Like, they knew what they were doing.
It's a real marquee year. But it's what's really crazy to me about this whole thing is it really broke out 78 with Halloween, and it still took them a couple of years for Friday the 13th to really kind of like be the sort of like proving grounds for it, where it was like, holy shit, I guess we could make a lot of money on this. So
yeah, because every film producer was like, wait, so it's like just a guy who like kills ladies? Like that's the whole thing?
And we can make this for less than $1 million.
And you say we can make 4,000 of them?
and they'll never get tired of it.
Oh,
that's crazy.
God,
all right,
people are dumb.
Yeah. So 1982. Other movies released that year: The House on Sorority Row,
yes,
Parasite, which was Charles Band's first 3D movie. Then Q, the
Winged Serpent,
The Entity, which is a dark one.
Yeah. Put a pin in that one.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
We're gonna do The Entity eventually. Cat People, which is a wild ride, and then and Swamp Thing,
which is a ridiculous ride.
Ridiculous, and it's awesome. So let's see some cast and crew. So this was directed by Juan Simon. He also did Slugs and Pod People, which is an all-time best episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And I'm definitely gonna
Slugs scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
I have not seen it. I know that it's like wicked gory though, so like might have to.
Yeah, it's about like killer slugs that come into the country on like tainted lettuce.
Yeah. So this movie stars Christopher George, who just a
Yes.
year before was over in Italy doing City of the Living Dead. He's also in Mortuary, which we mentioned in the last episode because of the Bill Paxton connection.
Yeah, Christopher George and Linda Day George are like the king and queen of television films.
Yeah, like I looked up her filmography, and she basically just did TV, and she did a shitload of TV.
Yeah, they would just do movies together. And then because he died like right after this movie came out, maybe a year later.
Yeah.
But as soon as he died, she just stopped acting.
Did she? Because I thought she kept
Yeah.
going. But anyways, I mean, hey, that makes sense. But yeah, she did it.
No, like she was just, it was fun for her. And then when he wasn't there anymore, it wasn't fun.
I would imagine that, like, because I have a theory about this movie, because all of the parts that have him and her in it are kind of like all of John Saxon's parts from Black Christmas, where it's almost like he's in an entirely different movie.
Yeah.
Because he's always like on the phone and he's talking to somebody who's elsewhere in the movie. It's like they had him for a couple of days, and so they just kind of did what they could. But like, I get the feeling that this was like this was a vacation to Spain for them, essentially, kind of like how City of the Living Dead was like basically like a couple of weeks in Rome for the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with The Visitor. It's like, why is John Huston in this movie?
Oh, I know, right?
Other than what would John Huston do for beer money? Like, I think anything is the answer. But
oh yeah, I mean, this must have been a wicked quick paycheck. It was not. It demanded nothing of them at all. And I love them both because he's kind of wasted in City of the Living Dead. Like, I hardly ever even remember that he's in the movie. But
yeah, I forgot that he was in it.
There are some really, really awesome jokes in this one that he just carries. We've also got Paul Smith, who plays
Bluto.
Yeah, the groundskeeper Willard. He played Bluto in Popeye, and he was also the Beast Raban in Dune, as well as like a bunch of other movies. Like he
nominated for an Oscar for Midnight Express, like 4 years earlier.
And here he is. Which again, they must have been like, "Come on down, you spend 3 weeks in Madrid, and we'll pay you this much." And he's like, "And all I got to do is stroke this chainsaw." Sweet.
Yeah, and then scowl.
He's so menacing and so mean. He's like the most aloof,
but also like confused a little bit too.
Most of the time he does. They're all the shit. Well, fuck it, we'll get to it. But he has all these really weird interactions with everybody, where like he stares them down with that like one eye scowl for like 30 seconds too long before he answers their question. It's such a weird thing that he does, but he's great. So this movie began life originally as a made-for-TV movie called Jigsaw. And then
it also the other alternative title is 1,000 Screams Has the Night.
Yeah, it's called Mil Gritos Tiene la Noche, which means 1,000 Screams. It sounds.
I tell you what, that is a romantic title.
That is a Troy McClure comedy.
I think that is maybe it's just in the phrasing, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like that and Christmas Ape. Do a double feature. So this is a movie that, like, while I was watching it, it kind of struck me in some observations I've made about other European filmmakers who were operating at the time. And it's right around this time that like everybody in Europe starts to sort of jump on the train as well. Like it was slasher fever in America. This was high time for that whole thing. But while I was watching it, it reminded me of Jess Franco's movie Bloody Moon. That one in particular, because it's like basically also both Spanish filmmakers, but they were it's like they couldn't really figure out how to make it not Spanish. Like the formula to make a slasher movie is stupid simple because everybody was doing it, and most of them not bad. But no matter what these guys did, if they were working in Spain, if they were working in France, if they were working in Italy, it always comes out like a giallo.
Yeah.
And like maybe that's just because like the slasher kind of has its roots in giallo to begin with. Like Friday the 13th has some scenes that are just lifted directly from Bay of Blood.
Yeah.
But they just cannot seem to separate their sensibilities. And they both both Bloody Moon, which is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, and this one, which I'd say is a pretty good movie. But they both have like this really kind of awkward quality that it's like, if you removed some of the violence and just put somebody in front of it for like 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure they'd think you're trying to show them a porno.
Well, I was thinking, like, what if you were to describe this to someone? without any knowledge, they would look at you and be like, why would I want to watch that? That sounds so boring. And also just terrible.
Right.
And it is definitely terrible.
Yeah. Oh God. But anyways, let's get into this because this is a riot.
Well, I mean, you skipped over the tagline for it.
Oh shit. No, because I definitely want to talk about that because the tagline is, it's exactly what you think it is.
There you go.
And let me say this though. It's not. I would like to know what they think that you think this movie is because it is so deranged.
I'll tell you what, I don't think they give a shit what you think this movie is.
I don't think they do either, but it's a very funny tagline. But when I was done watching this, I was like, I don't know what I was expecting. So
I believe I described it to you the other day as like someone asked a 14-year-old kid to write a horror movie that takes place in an American university. Because this movie is just, it is a misunderstanding of everything.
The cultural tone is so fucking funny. So this movie starts in like 1947 and it specifically points it out, it says Boston, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it right out front. I don't think anybody in this movie has ever been to Boston.
Nope. Tell you what, I live there and it doesn't look anything like this.
It's so idyllic.
Yeah.
And we go into a kid's room. We hear him doing the Humpty Dumpty thing. And
but isn't he a little too old to be like singing nursery rhymes to himself?
This kid looks like he's like 12.
Yeah.
And
also, he has an awful lot of pornography for a 12-year-old.
Apparently, like his mom turns up a troubling amount of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's putting together a puzzle, to sort of set the tone. And his mother comes in and is like, "Oh, look at that! Look at little look at my boy over there doing a puzzle." And then she comes over and finds out that he's putting together a poster or a puzzle of a nude woman. Yeah. And she goes crazy.
Yeah, they fire you out of a cannon with this movie, where it's just like, here's the bitch shrew mother trope, everybody.
Oh, this is really keeping with our trend of hysterical overacting.
Yep.
Because this woman, she reacts to it almost like Mommy Dearest does in Amityville 2. Like her reaction is so humongous. She freaks out, moral panic. She's like, "Go get a bag. I'm gonna burn all this stuff."
Yeah, it is a really heavy-handed reaction to, I mean, anything really. Like.
Yeah. And then like for the next 5 minutes, she like angrily rifles through all of his stuff, just throwing shit around the room, finding apparently like magazine after magazine after magazine of
just old timey pornography.
Yeah, I mean, he probably had some stag film stuff somewhere, but he does not, in fact, go and get a bag. He instead gets an axe, and he hacks his mother to death.
It's hilarious.
This is the thing is he hacks her to death, and then she goes to then apparently he like stuffs her in a closet, but we don't see it happen. Oh, he saws her up to bits as well. And there's like some woman trying to get into the house, and she comes in with the cops. With
the most Spanish-looking Boston cops I've ever seen.
The voice for both cops is the same guy.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and they find him like crying in one of the closets, and going like, "Big man, big man."
Oh my God! But the best part about this whole scene is when one of the cops says something like, "Where's the father?" And the woman pauses. This is the best line read I've ever heard. The woman pauses and goes, "He's away in Europe with the Air Force." Who the fuck is this?
Yeah, she must have been somebody's friend, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna really give it to him so that they call me back for another movie."
Yeah,
like
and that is a line read in a movie that is full of great lines.
She has forgotten what kind of movie that she's been making. But they find the kid, and he's covered in blood, and this also happens in Blood Rage, like right at the beginning, where he kills the guy in the car, and then he just kind of like smudges his brother with blood and sticks the weapon in his hand, while meanwhile he is just like, basically he has been hit with a blood hose. And so obviously this is all it takes to get away with axe murder at the time. But also one of the things that I wanted to sort of point out, take a minute to sort of recognize, is the blood effects in this movie are really quite good. Usually I don't know why, I don't know what the disconnect is, but when you watch like European horror movies that have a good deal of gore in them, the blood always has a certain look to it. And I don't know if it's just the materials they're using to make it, or if it's just like the lighting of the cameras or something like that. But it always kind of comes out looking like paint.
Yeah, it's always orange paint.
It's a little too thick, or it's too thin and it looks like food coloring and syrup. But like what I found out about this one was when they went out to get all like the guts and stuff like that, they also just took some blood with them.
Yeah, the pounds and pounds of pig meat.
Yeah. And so like a lot of the blood you see in this movie, it's like real animal blood. So it has a particularly nasty look to it. I really appreciate that. So then we cut, like, this is sort of the break, and we go to credits, and the type in the credits is awesome. It's like this drippy blood font. Mm-hmm. And there's really cool music playing over the credits, and I thought the music in the movie was great, but I also kind of felt like I recognized it from other places.
You sure did.
And that's because I did. A lot of this is like,
it's mostly it's Carlo Cortio's score for Absurd, most of it. Yeah. And then there's a couple, I think Silvio Cipriani, I think it's from a movie called Ring of Darkness, which is one of my favorite scores.
I recognize some Fabio Frizzi as well.
There's like one or two Fabio Frizzi songs in there.
Yeah.
It was originally done by a guy named Librado Pastor.
Yeah.
That's the guy who did the actual score for it.
So I guess maybe it's the Grindhouse version of the movie, but like one of the sort of like DVD Blu-ray releases of this movie comes with the original like Spanish soundtrack.
Yeah, that's the Grindhouse one. It's the one I have.
Okay, yeah. So that one has the actual like original music,
and it doesn't work very well in it. You also, I think if you watch that one, you have to watch it in Spanish.
Oh,
because it only exists in the Spanish cut of the movie.
Did they like shoot it twice, like a version in Spanish and then a version?
No, it's just overdubbing the whole thing.
Oh,
because the original audio track must sound like shit because the English version is also overdubbed.
Yeah, because the dub on in the English version, it matches the lips pretty well. So I couldn't tell.
That depends on who's speaking, I think.
I suppose that is. But so we come out of the credits, and man, we get right to it. So
ding ding ding, the zany comedy alert.
Oh yeah. So groundskeeper is.
Oh no, you're gonna skip right over the skateboarding.
Oh shit. No, because I do actually have a note. What the hell did that note? Oh yeah, listen, it's not that hard to ride a skateboard.
No,
you can just step off. You don't have to fly through the two dudes carrying the.
Yeah, no, this is like 1950s.
It's Buster Keaton shit.
Yeah.
Because like you see the girl on the skateboard and she's like whoa, whoa, like all over the place, and then you see the guys with the mirror and it's like okay,
yeah. Some real old-timey comedy. Classic stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but then we move in, and there's the groundskeeper.
And she goes through the sheet of glass. I can't believe you're skipping over. This is gold.
Because you actually see her, like, step to stop, and then they do the whole shatter thing.
And then yet she's fine 5 seconds later.
Is that her? Because I gotta tell you, this movie is so casually dismissive of the women in it that they are all like, there are a couple of parts where I'm like, didn't she just get killed? Like there were moments where I was like, I don't know who this person is. Like the only characters that they really kind of drive home and sort of make you remember are like Christopher George, the It Stinks guy, his stupid sidekick, and Bruce Lay. That's about it. But yeah, so now we do the murder, and it's a guy who's like head to toe like covered up. He's got the thing, and there's a girl.
Yeah, this is the grandest of guignol.
Yeah, there's a girl reading out. She's got her skirt all hiked up because as we're gonna find out, like Juan Simón is like the horniest director in the entire world.
14-year-old boy.
Yeah, and she's like, "Hey, do you gotta do that here?" And he's like, "Hey, don't worry, I'll be done in a minute." And then, he fires it up and just casually like graces it across her neck, and there is a massive like wave of blood that comes from it.
Actually, before you go any further, because this movie is wall to wall misogyny.
Oh my god, it's the worst.
It
There's
is-
a part later on, like toward the end, that I have like that I really, really want to sort of like underscore as this part made me kind of uncomfortable. But
Well, I was thinking about it because this, by any measure, this movie is offensive. Like, it doesn't matter who you are or where you're coming from. It is offensive. And yet it is so thoroughly charming that you don't really give a shit how offensive it is. And I was like, why does this work? And I thought, you know what it's like? It's like when a 5-year-old swears at you. Where you're like, they don't really know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And
like,
they're just they're just being outrageous. And because of that, it's endearing.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, don't be saying that, you can just do it here. But yeah, like there were parts like the Bruce Lee scene, the Kung Fu Professor part. That scene is really, really racist.
Yeah. And just completely like it is a non sequitur with no explanation ever.
It's totally weird. And like, were Bruce exploitation movies that big that you might get the reference? Like, because he doesn't look like Bruce Lee at all.
No.
Anyways, but yeah, so and then now the investigation begins formally, and this is where we meet Christopher George. He's got his partner.
Oh wait, but is this before or after the scene in the hallway with the?
Okay, so that's after this because
Okay.
I've got notes on that one too.
Because you're not brazen by that line.
Oh, no, I am not. I've got we can spend some time on that one, but yeah. So I mean, and it's just we meet the dean of the school. We meet Christopher George, his weirdo like Frankenstein partner,
Who I think his name is Randy. The most Spanish of names.
Yeah. And it's just what do we know about the girl? Did she run around with a lot of guys? Like, was she a slut? Like, did she have this coming to her? It's your average European police investigation of a murder. Like, this is basically every scene in every giallo. Like, they just, I don't know. That's just their first thing. But then we get to the next sort of scene, because this movie is kind of a whodunit, even though it's so fucking obvious who the killer is from the start. But they kind of stack it with a bunch of people who might be the killer. And so we've got the dean to think of. We've got the next guy who's Professor Brown is his name, I think.
Are you talking about the next scene? Is Chekhov's waterbed?
Yes. So it's like 5 or 6 kids in a hallway at their school just smoking a joint in the hallway, and they are super horny. Like,
Yeah, and these are the most European people you have ever seen in your life.
all of the women,
They are all from French Vogue covers. Like,
yeah, all of the women in the movie have this kind of way of talking that I also kind of point out in my essay about Bloody Moon, where I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just like somebody trying to keep up with the lip movement in the dub, but they have this way of talking that's kind of like this, and it's really kind of chirpy and stony, and like they really just kind of go and go and go, and it makes me
or they slow it down, and they slow it down in the weirdest ways. Like, say one of them says, "Hey, they've just installed a waterbed in the training room," and then they're smoking pot. Well,
Why is there a waterbed in the training room?
I don't know why there is one, but what I do know and what I learned from this movie is the most beautiful thing in the world is smoking pot and fucking on a waterbed at the same time.
Like,
Listen.
Yeah, hang on a second.
I'm no expert here, but I think whoever wrote that line has never been on a waterbed.
Yeah, because I'm going to say 2 stoners flailing awkwardly on an undulating surface, probably not all that beautiful.
Like, either that or you do not understand the biomechanics of sex, because these things are not coming together.
This was like the high age of the waterbed too. Like, you don't see waterbeds anymore for a fucking reason.
Yeah, because they're gross as fuck. They're incredibly tacky.
Yeah, like I would imagine that if I ever went into a place like,
I mean, no offense to the waterbed enthusiasts out there, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's probably like a kink for it. I would. This was just so weird. Like, so then we move in where Professor Brown comes into the hallway.
Ah, yes, the pink herring.
Yeah, and she's yes, his
Hey-oh.
poor Professor Brown and his affliction.
Oh man.
Yeah, but yeah, so one of the girls is like, "Ooh, here he comes! Watch this!" And she goes over and is like, "Oh, can you tell me where my pectorals are? Everybody's making fun of me." And let me tell you, if I were this guy, I would have failed her on sight.
Yeah,
F minus for the semester. Get the fuck away from me.
Bitch, this is wildly inappropriate. This is a school.
Yeah, but he's set up as kind of like a, he's one of the like, oh, maybe it's this guy, and the way he sort of behaves is very strange, and he's very awkward in most of his scenes. But right off the bat, they
they dress him like Paul Lynde from the get. Like he has got on 10 pounds of pancake makeup. He may as well have an ascot.
No scene without a turtleneck. He's a riot, and but the thing is, we're supposed to sort of accept him as one of the potential killers, but moments before, the dean is like, he's a slightly odd chap, lives with his mother. It's like, well, his mother is dead, so I guess this knocks him off the list.
Also, I mean, if they're trying to trick us, right, as the viewer, we know that whoever the killer is the kid from the beginning, and that's like a good 40 something years earlier, which would make him in his like mid 50s at least.
This is why it's so fucking obvious, like right out of the gate, who the killer is.
Yeah.
So
it's that or Christopher George, and I know it's not Christopher George.
Right.
He would never.
But he every time he is in the shot, every scene he has this running gag with a cigar that he just cannot get lit. He never has like matches. The people around him, nobody ever has matches. Somebody will be like, "Hey, I don't smoke." This joke is legitimately funny. Like once about 3/4 through the movie, I realized that like he's been trying to get this thing lit the whole time, and I was like, "That's pretty good."
Yeah, it's also the only consistent thing in this movie. There is no continuity elsewhere except for this bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
God bless you, Juan Simone. You really did it.
Yeah, but now they're going to introduce another guy, and this is Paul Smith as Willard, the groundskeeper, and we are introduced to him as he is lovingly maintaining his chainsaw. It's the same chainsaw from the scene before. So like,
also, there are an awful lot of chainsaws just laying around this university.
Yeah. It's and they're not just like
like I have never been anywhere where there's one chainsaw just sitting around, and let alone 12.
It's a big chainsaw too, like the bar's real long, like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre one, but the body of it is humongous. It's like it's got some kind of like a car engine inside of it. It's a really strange thing, but he is shown like lovingly like brushing the blade, and this is where they throw this into to throw us off, but then he kind of like looks into the distance, and there's just two kids under a tree in the schoolyard fucking. And it's like, is everybody fucking in this movie? Like it is like this. They must have like a single strain of STIs going through everybody, because like this, there are scenes where like a dude whose girlfriend just got killed is shown like screwing some other girl like minutes later. It's wild.
Also, this is New England. People don't do that. They don't even look people in the eye here.
Right. This is not very chaste. This is
I'm not going to say hello, let alone fuck you under a tree.
It's a very European take on Boston, because like obviously, they just kind of free that way.
Yeah, gave her the old European hello.
Yeah. So now we got to introduce more characters. We go to the library, and it's Stinks guy from Pod People, with the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode, where in that movie he's like a musician and he's really hard on his backup singers. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yes, I hope that like this is. I hope.
Does he Kendall?
Kendall.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I hope that he's not just like a cameo or something, because I knew he was a Spanish actor, but it turns out he's like the main character. And every single time he showed up, is all I could think of was it stinks.
Inches roll, bees on pie, burning rubber ties. Oh, great. Pretty good. What do you think? It stinks.
Now, in this movie, Kendall is supposed to be the campus stud. They actually call him the campus stud. My note just says, not in that cardigan.
No, he looks like Slim Goodbody. He's like the weirdest looking guy.
Yeah.
And
He looks like Horshack.
he does. That yes. But like there is a scene where a girl is like literally begging him to have sex with her. And he's like, "No way, baby, I gotta go."
Yeah, I gotta go save this police lady.
Oh man. But yeah, so he gets like a note passed to him by a girl who says, "I want to do it underwater. Meet me at the pool."
Again,
So,
14-year-old boy.
yeah. So we cut. She's going to the pool, and she is introduced with the swankiest, sexiest saxophone like solo.
And also, please note, she is walking at the pool in cowboy boots.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, gratuitous nudity it follows. She undresses. She's waiting for Kendall, but the killer sort of steals into the scene and kind of hides out in the back. And how he manages to pull this off is kind of anybody's guess because he's not dressed subtly. He is wearing like a wide brimmed fedora, and it's all black, and a black overcoat, and his face is kind of covered with.
He is like a character from Dick Tracy. Like everything about this screams like oversized costume.
Yeah, he's like the Shadow or something. Like it's really really wild.
Or like that suit. What's his name there? What is the guy from Talking Heads? David.
Oh yeah, David Byrne.
Yeah, in the Stop Making Sense movie, it's like that, but it's a little less boxy, maybe a little more fashionable.
Yeah. So she strips down, and he subdues her with a pool.
Put the net right over the head. He just catches her on the head with the net, and she out like a light.
Well, he's taking her to the funny farm or something like that. But yeah, so he pulls her over, and he fires up the old chainsaw and cuts her to pieces. So what we I think maybe I skipped over this earlier, but like after he killed the first girl, he took her head, and so after this one, he also bags up her torso.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's trying to follow along in the plot as you go beat by beat, you can give up now because it's not going to make any sense either way.
It's kind of thrown together. So apparently, originally, this movie was just like an outline or a script treatment. There were only like 30.
I got news for you. It still kind of is.
Yeah, because like it's like a lot of this was made up on the day. So now again, more cops. Everybody shows up to the.
Yeah, okay, but here's what you get. What you get here is you get they're the paramedics in Massachusetts. You can tell because of the traditional cassock uniforms they're wearing. These people are coming in here. Look, this is the most anachronistic paramedics I've ever seen. They're like, it's like 1892.
Yeah. Like they got like smelling salts and cocaine in their bag. I mean, they probably had the cocaine in the bag, but So there is a bloody chainsaw next to the severed pieces of the body, and Officer George comes in and asks, "Could that have been done with a chainsaw?"
What gave it away?
Pointing to the chainsaw that is right next to the corpse and covered in blood. It's no wonder.
The professor, is he a history professor? Whatever he is, the gay one. He's the gay professor.
He's the gay professor. Comparative anatomy.
And he's the one who goes, "Well, I'm not a pathologist, but like neither am I, and yet I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's how this happened."
It's no wonder the killer gets away with this for so long. These cops are fucking morons.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's Christopher George. He can't solve a crime. He's too busy being obsessed with Kendall.
This is true. Oh my God, he takes him under his wing like it's his son that he never had or something. Like the relationship between those two is crazy, especially at the end when he keeps trying to like charge into the room, and the cops have to keep like literally throwing him against the wall. We are introduced to It Stinks Guy's sidekick, who I can't remember his name, but he's basically Melvin from the Toxic Avenger.
Is this after Bluto comes in, and like again he comes into the pool area?
Yeah, I think because I think this is where they like arrest him.
And he has that look on his face, like this look that's like, hey, like wait a minute,
right? Because
what's going on here?
He's always got like one eye closed and the other one is kind of squinted and like really kind of skeptical of everything that's going on, almost as if to say, I have no idea what's happening here. And then they take him, I think they take him away. It seems like we've case closed, right? Because obviously this is a chainsaw that he was seen with, so I guess it just goes to say I'm not even really sure what this scene is for with the sidekick, because he's just this kind of like obnoxious kid who like he goes to tell Kendall that he found a note in the dean's office or something for him. And then,
right, yeah.
And then, but before he does, or after, maybe he does this or afterwards, he just turns to some random girl and was like, "Hey, what are you doing later?" And she's like, "Not on your life, mister.
My plans got canceled." He's a weird character because he's like, what's his purpose? Because he's in it again.
Yeah, he shows up for the jump scare in the middle, and he's just stalking the campus by night, like in a monster mask. But yeah, like I don't really know, like comic relief, maybe. Like it's
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. But now we move to the dance scene, and there is we come in on a class.
Oh wait, you skipped over the introduction of Mary Riggs.
Was that there?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't remember. I thought that was after this.
Mary Riggs, tennis champion / lady cop.
Yeah, she's a professional tennis player and a paper pusher cop.
Yep.
That's like, I mean, is the tennis not paying? Like, what's going on here?
I think she's supposed to be a retired, she's really there. She's looking for the hot action.
Yeah.
And professional tennis wasn't doing it anymore.
I know. Is this job going to be dangerous? Yes, I'm afraid so. Thank God.
Yeah, she really sells it.
Yeah.
And this is also where we meet Sylvia Costa. She is an intrepid reporter from the Madrid Globe.
I mean, they at least got the paper name right. She's actually from the Boston Globe.
Sylvia Costa, or as I call her, knockoff Daria Nicolodi.
Or dead weight, because she does nothing.
Yeah, she is introduced into this movie to be killed.
Yep. But, so now, dance scene. It's a room full of women in leotards, and they're dancing. Now, originally,
it's supposed to be ballet, I think.
It's really hard to say, because later on, they do it, but the music that they use is nuts. It's like this high energy, like Italo disco song.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but this is definitely not ballet.
No.
It's kind of like jazzercise a little bit.
It really is. So the woman in the sort of who's leading it with the the black leotard and the leg warmers. So apparently she was really an aerobics instructor.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and Simone he intended, surprise, surprise, for this scene to be done in the nude, which is ridiculous. So she had to take him aside and explain to him that, in spite of what you might think, we don't usually do this naked. And apparently he was
like, in spite of what you might think.
Yeah, he was like, because he pushed back on her, and it was only after he they basically, she was like, "There's no way I'm doing this nude," and so he was like, "Fine." So he sounds like a gigantic asshole. But here's a weird thing. Have you ever seen the movie Blood Diner?
Yes.
Okay, so
the Herschel Gordon Lewis movie?
No, that's Blood Feast.
Oh, Blood Diner, yes.
Blood Diner
is from the 80s.
Yeah, so that's the one that Jackie Kong did that was supposed to be like a sequel to Blood Feast. It has a very similar plot to this movie where
also Jackie Kong is still obsessed with that movie. She's working on a comic book now. It's all she does.
She's the best. Oh my God. But the plot to the plots of these movies are very similar, where both are sort of in a thing where they're making a woman out of pieces. But
spoiler alert.
Yeah, oops. But
again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they're doing.
No, you've had 40 years to become familiar with this movie. But in Blood Diner, there is a nude aerobics scene, which is such a weird connection to the whole thing. But so Jackie got her way, but Juan Simon could not. But the rhythm of the dancing and this
no match.
random song, and they are so far apart that like it was aggravating me. Like I was like anxious watching it. But like it's just kind of like a setup for the next kill. One of the girls, they end the song. She turns to the leader and goes, "Hey, I'll be right back. I have to go to the John."
Yes,
Which,
that's the best part.
Hey, really good, great performance. I got to go take a dump.
Oh God.
But this
Now imagine her saying that nude.
I would
Look, that lady was not the director, but she made the right call.
I don't know. I think that would have made the scene 1,000 times funnier. But yeah. So it's just this is a setup. We follow her down the hall as she's going to the John.
And what is the most giallo of giallo scenes? The scene in the hallway, she's like running. And you got like Fabio Frizzi's pounding on the keys.
Yeah. And and it's just a setup for a jump scare. So like moving forward, we finally sort of see what Mary Riggs is there to do. And my note just says thrilling tennis action. As there is a really long
And it is the most boring,
slowest. These are supposed to be like professionals. She's supposed to be a professional. Her opponent is supposed to be like a college player.
These people have played tennis twice.
Behind them. This is actually, it's true. One of the things I read is that they were like, here's your tennis racket. And she's like, I don't play tennis. So they had to get like a person to come in and teach them how to do it so that it could look at least a little bit familiar to them. But the crowd around them is like white knuckle intensity.
Yeah, they're doing that thing where the head watches the ball go back and forth.
And I swear to God, it's like they got one good shot of Linda Day doing like a lob, and they got one good shot of the other actress doing a lob, and they just reuse the two shots like over and over and over because they both go to in the same direction, and then eventually like Mary ends up winning. But it's so long. Like what a boring scene. And also completely random again. Like why? But
my guess is that it wasn't long enough.
Yeah, or like we'll get to a little further on. There's a couple of other moments where I was like, I wonder if the director was like, all right, just give me a few of these and then we'll kind of pick the good one. And then he was just like, you know what, these are all great. They're all going in there. So we go back to the dance studio, but this time it's just this one girl. And if this is supposed to be ballet,
this is definitely not ballet.
She's doing ballet to the sexiest song like ever recorded. And then she, packs up and heads out, and she runs into the killer again. But this time she recognizes him.
This is the laziest kill scene in any horror movie.
It really,
which is just like, is. Oh, it's you. And it's like, because you put two people in an elevator. Yeah, one of them has a giant chainsaw. Like, you cannot maneuver this thing.
He's got a chainsaw behind his back. Like, he just was like, he walked in. There's no way she didn't see that thing going into the elevator. And then, he has to, he produces it, starts it up, and, he gives her the old chop.
Like, do you think anybody was like, hey, what if we just did this not in an elevator? And he had more room to move around. And of course, Juan Simon was like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm the director here. Hey, lady, get naked.
Yeah.
So, so she gets killed. And I can't remember. I think, does he take her legs?
I think so.
Or
no, her arms, because she doesn't die. At first, they're like, she's still alive. And it's like, no, she is not.
Yeah, there's no way. Because also, this is another scene where the kill goes down, and it's not just a little bit of blood. Like, it is like a gout. It's like an Evil Dead amount of blood.
It's like she exploded in the elevator.
Yeah. So, how is it that the It Stinks guy sort of comes to realize that this happened, because like this is the scene where he's in bed with the girl.
Not yet, because I think he's is that where this scene is? Because he doesn't know about this,
right? Because there's another scene where they bring in the cops, and the cops are like, "Dude, I don't know what's going on."
Because he has to tell the cop in this frantic moment where the guy's like, "I gotta get over there," whatever cops do, and he's like, "Oh," because he wants to make a phone call. He's like, "Hey, dial 0 for an outside line," and I was like, "What a weird thing to include."
Yeah. So yeah,
it's like, what do you know about telephone calls in the United States? All I know is that you have to dial 0 for an outside line.
Yeah, and if you're having an emergency, you call 999.
Yeah, and then you just bang on the phone.
Yeah, you mash your hand on the number.
Yeah.
but right, this is but this is one of the first scenes where Detective George sort of takes Kendall under his wing.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I mean, obviously it's just for plot expediency, but like there's really no reason for him to sort of like have this like very patronly
it is a very like paternalistic response to this young man that it's like he's a stranger who is now a cop too, I guess. He's like a deputy.
He's like honorary like booster or something. Like he takes him in and he's like, "Hey, look, you got to really look out for Mary, like protect her." It's like, she's a cop, dude.
Yeah, she's an adult woman and a cop and a professional tennis player. She's all of those things. She does not need Kendall.
And Detective George is talking to her also, and she's like, I don't know if I got time for this. And he's like, "Look, Mary, I'm shorthanded." I'm like, "Dude, you're a cop in Boston. Yeah. We like the only
trust me, you're not shorthanded.
Like the police force, the only bigger police force is New York. Like this, you got cops who could be helping you, because like also whenever they show like in the office or at the station, it looks like a basement of a library, first of all, but like it's just him and like his partner. Like there's no indication that there are any other cops involved in the city. Like he is the one guy watching out for the entire city. But so then the murder happens, and we have this sort of moment where
we get to the sex part with the
so he wakes up in bed, and he's got a girl with him, and he gets up and hangs dong, mind you.
Yeah, this is a rare instance of male nudity in a horror movie from the 80s.
I was very surprised.
That is handled it's not gratuitous.
It's not, but it's also longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, like that's what it's like. Like if all the nudity in this movie is going to be gratuitous, exploitative nudity, why is this scene not? And if that's the case, why is it in it at all?
Yeah, but like the girl is like, "Oh, don't leave me, baby. Please, baby, come on back."
Yeah, this part made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, like, dude, because you do me so good. Like it's
she is desperate.
Very thirsty woman here. Presumably, like they just had sex. So he throws on his clothes and he goes out, and Mary is out there walking around, and
creeping around, I think, is a better description. She's like, it is like a Scooby-Doo episode. She is like creeping down these alleyways, like touching the walls. It's like a Michael Jackson video. Like she's just touching everything and looking a little bit scared.
They're like, "Give us some of that Mission Impossible business."
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's just kind of wandering around, and she turns a corner and is attacked by a karate dude. Ooh. And he comes out of nowhere. He just starts kicking and kicking and kicking. She falls to the ground and kicks him in the balls, and that's
he passes out.
Hey-o! She really rung his bell.
What?
But then we hear like an engine sort of starting up, and it's like, "Oh no, the chainsaw guy's coming!" But no, it's Kendall and his motorcycle. And he looks at the guy who's getting up off the ground, and he goes, "Oh, hey, it's just my kung fu professor."
My kung fu professor, the greatest moment ever. My kung fu professor. What the fuck school do you think this is?
Yeah, he goes. He then has a couple of minutes, the kung fu professor, and really it's one of the Bruces. It's Bruce Lee, I think, who was in like Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave and like all of those movies that were made after Bruce Lee died, the whole Bruceploitation thing. He's one of them, and it's just because I can't remember what the guy who's a producer, Randy something.
I wrote it down.
I can't remember.
Don
Donald
Piano. Dick Randall is his name.
Dick Randall, yeah. So he also was making a bunch of like Bruceploitation movies and was just like, hey, you're in town, like pop up in here. And
you'd think this guy would have like looked at this was not in the script, I'm guessing, but you think he would have looked at it and be like, I don't know about this, man. This is pretty tasteless, even for you.
Oh, because like when he does speak, it's like, oh, so sorry, old lady.
Yeah, it is like, very like number one son. This is like Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's offensive.
Yeah, it's so terrible. It's literally, it's like I watched that and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. That's not good.
Yeah. But, my kung fu professor. God damn.
He just trots off. And
he explains why he feels this way. It is because of the bad chop suey.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. That's that 80s business. You know, anything goes, baby. Why gotta be so stuck up?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Kendall takes to like walking her home, and they get up to her house. And this is a guy who presumably like had sex 10 minutes ago. He immediately puts the Mac on her.
Yeah.
Yep. He's like, hey, aren't you gonna like make some coffee? She's like, go home, Kendall.
Yeah, she's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Someone just tried to kill me. Your kung fu professor just attacked me. I want to have sex with you.
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with everybody in this movie? It's like they've all had a head injury. But like this, and then he's like, oh well, kicks the dirt and like turns around with his hands in his pockets. And his weirdo sidekick shows up with a monster mask on his head, and he does this weird thing with his hand, and he makes a weird sound, and he's
like, hey, Casanova! Yeah, that's it's just like, this is a weird kind of long duck dong moment here that I don't know why it's in there, but I love it.
Yeah, he just shows up for the jump scare. Like he's in the movie one more time. But like this is all he seems to exist to do, is just kind of like make you laugh. But like their idea of breaking tension is just like whenever, because there's no timing to it. It just happens. So
it kind of feels like someone was like shot a bunch of scenes and then just put them all together. It's kind of like how I imagine Rob Zombie makes a movie. Like you just take a bunch of shit, throw it up in the air, and crumple it all back together, and there you go. That's your movie.
Yeah. Like it basically follows the sort of progression of a plot where it's like this happens and then this happens and then this happens and then we get to the end and there's a little bit of connective tissue between it all, because that's really all that's happening in this movie. It's crazy. But now it's the next day, and there's more goddamn tennis. I have a note that says, "No, please, not more tennis." So it's just the setup, and
well, they got to build up for what is easily one of the greatest scenes ever captured on film.
It's a crazy. Oh yeah. But
I'm hoping you have that lined up. You got a little audio sample of that, because.
Well. Let me.
It's on YouTube. If not, it's on my goddamn cell phone, because that's how much I love this scene.
But
you could say, no one has ever seen this movie except every drag queen in America knows this scene.
Yeah. So this is the run up to the next kill. Oh shit! No, I forgot. There was actually another kill before all of this happened. The waterbed kill scene.
Oh yeah.
And so she.
That's like weird. That's like Dario Argento knockoff moment.
Right.
What is clearly a fake knife because it keeps bending.
It bends when he stabs her. But also it's the first time that he's not using the chainsaw.
Yeah, you can't chainsaw through a waterbed. I mean, you can, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, he stabs the whole thing. I mean, we finally see, like, the ultimate problem with having a waterbed. But...
Yeah, I mean, and when you introduce a waterbed in the first act, by the third act, it's going to go off.
And now I got to check off the waterbed.
And it goes off.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's a nasty, nasty scene. But I was wondering, like, is that the girl from the beginning with the...
No, that is the reporter.
Oh, okay. Right.
Who they introduce as though she's going to be an important part of this movie, And she's never in it again until
Nope.
she gets killed in Chekhov's waterbed.
And to show you, just to illustrate how much of an impression she makes, I had no idea who this woman was. Like, again, like this next victim, I have no idea if she's been in the movie before, if she's a character, if we're familiar with her. But
I mean, I feel this way about a lot of horror movies, though.
yeah, I suppose.
I mean, now, to be fair, I am a gay man of a certain age. White women all look the same to me. And you gotta, unless you put a hat on one, or like some glasses on another, I can't be bothered. And I feel like Juan Simón, he also can't be bothered. Ostensibly for other reasons, but
yeah, it really shows, because like I have no idea who anybody is in this movie except for It Stinks guy, Linda, and George,
and Bluto.
Yeah, and Bluto. But
you can tell him because he's the one who is scowling from beginning to end,
yeah.
But also a little bit confused.
Yeah, because in the next scene, he's one of those parts where he's asked a question and then he gives a long.
Yeah, he's not in jail anymore. He's free or something.
Right. Because like he at one point, like I can't remember what scene it is, but it's another one where I think they kind of want to show you. It's a big wide shot of basically everybody of consequence in the movie to sort of be like, remember, here's all of the possible killers, and he just kind of like strolls into the scene and kind of awkwardly steps into his spot with his hand.
Because the music is playing. It's like that triumphant, successful tennis music.
Oh right, yeah, it's like that.
And I'll tell you, that is definitely not Stelvio Cipriani.
No, it's like
it's like this Sousa march.
Yeah, it's like JP Sousa.
But, and it is extremely loud.
Extremely loud, and it's just like a sample played over and over and over again. And so again, more gratuitous nudity. Apparently, this girl was like the daughter of somebody on the crew who they were like, hey, we need somebody in the movie, maybe try my daughter out. And he's like, and Simone, of course, was like, would she do nude scenes? And he's like,
Jesus Christ.
And he's like, it's Spain, so of course she'll do a nude scene. And I read more about this, and there was like a lot of back and forth where she's like, yeah, well, like I probably wouldn't be naked then. Like, can I wear sweatpants? And he's like, I guess.
This guy's got real Roman Polanski vibes.
Wicked bad. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we found out he was a sex criminal. But this is the scene where she gets chased through the locker room by the killer with the chainsaw. And at this point, it is the most phallic chainsaw in the history of all movies involving chainsaws. Like, he is holding it at his crotch.
Yeah, when Carol Clover wrote Men, Women, and Chainsaws, she basically is just writing about this movie.
Pretty much.
Because every scene, he has got it. And I'm not going to give Juan Simón too much credit here, because I do not think a lot of thought or effort went into this. But every time he's got the chainsaw, it's positioned at his crotch. Yeah. That might just be because it's a chainsaw and it's gigantic.
Right.
But it's pretty on the nose.
This next kill scene in particular is a little bit of a bummer, because like he chases her into like a bathroom stall or something like that. And she closes the door and puts her fucking back to it. And then of course, the chainsaw bursts through.
Yeah, she has never seen any Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah. But this is the part where he's like sawing his way through the door, but he's doing it in a very suggestive, like back and forth, in and out motion. And I'm like, oh God, come on, man. But the whole thing is really, really silly on the whole. But this one in particular is just super, super gross. And there's a close up of her like pissing her pants too,
which is like, real.
What?
It is a real moment, and they left it in. Probably because they were like, fuck it, we don't have the money to reshoot anything.
Well, at 85 minutes...
It's because he comes way too close to her with the chainsaw, and they never took the chain off of it.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
So that is a real moment.
Jesus Christ. But like, that's gotta be it. Like this scene, this is a girl who was not an actress. She'd never acted before. She did not know what to expect. And this is what they put her up against. Like...
I'd piss my pants if that guy was coming at me with a chainsaw.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like, no shade. I mean, that's probably what you do. But like, as a result of this movie, she never acted again. But she gets chopped side on. And again, like huge like explosion of blood. And you actually like see it going into the skin. Apparently they chainsawed like a pig or something like that.
Yes, this was pig parts.
So so now Bluto shows up and he's really, really aggressive.
Yeah, he is so put out by them. And all they want is to shut this goddamn song off.
He's like, listen, that ain't my job, lady. But after that like long, awkward pause where she's like, so how do we turn the music off? And he just like stares her down for like 30 seconds.
And then he goes to do it. And she's like, wait, don't touch anything. And it's like, but you just asked him to turn it off.
Yeah. And so they turn the music off. She goes outside with Bluto. And Kendall comes up looking sick because he just found the body. And
here it goes.
This is her reaction to the newest kill.
You see it?
Yes! While we were out here fumbling with that music, the lousy bastard was in there killing her! Bastard! Bastard! Bastard!
This moment.
This scene, I swear to God, like this was one of those moments where I'm sure he was like, okay, so we're gonna do the bastard scene. Like give us 3 different intensities, different levels, and we'll pick the one that works best. And then she did that, and he was like, fuck it, we're keeping them all.
What I love is that she does the first one, and then she does the second one, and then she waits, and you can see it on her face that she's just like, should I do it? Should I do a third one? And then she just goes in for it, and it is. Whew, it is like Faye Dunaway and what is that, Network? It is beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, you set me up for that one too, and I got to tell you, like, there's no way to undersell it. Like, it is.
I had thought you had already made it past that point by the time I ruined it, but
it's so delightful. Because it's like
a
the
crowning
one
achievement.
She's practically sleeping through the whole movie. Like her parts are she's kind of like arm candy and a little.
Yeah, she's not a good actor. She's never a good actor. I heard Jackie Beat describe her once as what did he say? It's like a broom in a pantsuit with a wig on it. And I was like, you know what? That is shady as fuck, but it's also pretty true.
Yeah.
She contributes very little.
Yeah, like I mean, she was just kind of like the pretty girl of the week on like Fantasy Island or
she's Charlie's Angels, Love Boat, the whole thing.
Yeah,
when like anybody could be an actor.
Yeah, and so like we heard a little bit of it right before I cut it, but like moving on, and Detective George is on the phone with I think his partner, and he's like you gotta find me something. You gotta get me something. I got nothing. So like we are like 3.
And then what the cop says, well, we don't have any. Oh no, this is what Christopher George says. We don't have any more time. Take some uppers or something.
Yeah, because they don't have anything. We're like we are moving into the third act. This movie is almost over, and he is just going like, well, this guy's got the drop on us. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, because he spent all his time like fostering Kendall's position on the force now.
Right. So we're like, what are they even in this movie for? Like, what's the fucking point?
What is anyone in this movie for? You have been talking about this for 55 minutes, and I bet when you listen back to this, it is not going to make a goddamn bit of sense.
Probably not. I mean, I hope somebody is actually like who's listening to this has seen this movie, because otherwise the people are going to be like, this movie sounds like it was made at a mental hospital.
Like this got made? Like, well, yeah, and people love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's the thing. Like when we do these sort of like back and forths on a movie, like it's often sounds like we're shitting on it, but I assure you, like I enjoy this movie tremendously.
I spent my money on this movie. I own it.
On the special edition too.
Now I own multiple copies of this film.
Yeah. So we're moving through, and we're kind of getting into the end game, and I can't remember how she gets there, but Linda ends up at the dean's house.
Yes. Where we get the final amazing line of the film. He says he makes her some coffee, which, of course he puts some drugs in the coffee because it's going to drug her.
Also my note is we've replaced Linda Day's regular coffee with Folgers Crystal.
Yeah.
Let's see if she noticed.
She doesn't. She loves the coffee.
He apologizes. It's instant coffee. I'm so sorry.
And then she goes, I love the cream. And he goes, but of course, this is New England. What? What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Oh, no.
But of course it is. This is New England, after all, where we put cream in coffee.
Oh, no. I mean, maybe. I mean, what's coffee in Spain like?
I think they ran out of script. Is what happened here. They're like, I don't know, fudge it. We gotta wrap it up, kids.
I'm at a spot also where I'm starting to kind of like forget what's happening, because I've got notes that just say in quotes, "I'll send you a case of lollipops."
Which at first I was like, is that like a Kojak reference? Because Kojak, his thing is like a lollipop.
The same thing, right? Because he always had it. This was probably right around the same time, though. I think Kojak was kind of like just like I don't know, the 70s.
Kojak's late 70s into the early 80s.
So maybe that's the thing. But like this is when the dean reveals to Linda that Professor Brown is a homosexual.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but as long as he stays on the straight and narrow, I don't really mind.
Well, what he says is, I think he has more of a problem with it, or it's more of a big deal for him than it is for me. It was such a weird way of handling this, because obviously horror movies are notoriously homophobic and racist and misogynistic, and this is such a weird way of handling this character in general, because the movie it takes no position on it at all. It's just kind of like, here's the thing, now the characters are going to use it. The dean is using it to sort of like misdirect. Right. And then the slutty teens at the beginning are using it to like, I don't really know what they're using it for. But like, it's never like the character is not homophobic. It's just sort of like, I don't know, it's just a character.
It's right. And it comes in a little too late to be like Butcher Baker would have introduced it like really early on as a way to sort of be like, hey, he's pretty fucked up, right? Like he could totally be a chainsaw killer. I mean, he's gay, right?
And they do they make allusions to it early on when he's just like, yes, he's unmarried and lives with his mother, which is like, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
He's a bachelor.
It drops right before it's revealed that the dean is the killer. And if you didn't see this coming a mile away, like maybe see a doctor. Yeah. But yeah, this is the part where he refers to Professor Brown's homosexuality as his affliction.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. But we go to the police station where Kendall is like hitting the books hard, and he's like trying to find a connection, and he finally does.
Yeah, he's just on the force now.
Yeah, and I can't remember what the connection is, but it's something like he finds out that the dean's name is like
the cop, else. The other cop, Frankenstein cop, calls Arlington, I guess, and then I think it's that Arlington, and they tell him that it's not the dean's real name or something like that.
Right,
and then he's like, "Oh my god!" He drops his Wendy's shake. He's like, "We got to get the fuck out of here and go over there," and because Kendall's all the backup he has now.
Yeah.
Because he's like, "Well, where's Linda Day George?" And he's like, "I think she's with the dean for some reason."
Yeah. Oh, and then they all run over there. They get there, and this is the part where they finally like hook up outside the dean's door, and It Stinks guy keeps trying to like rush in, and he tries like 3 or 4 times, and every time one of the cops either grabs him and violently throws him back against the wall. That's like, I have no idea why he even feels
this is my question.
It's like urge to get in there.
Like, wait a minute. You have been treating him like he is a deputy for this entire movie. Now he's trying to charge in to save Linda Day George, and now he can't come in. Like, why did you bring him then?
Right. And the whole reason that the dean needs to kill her is because he wants her feet, which is very, very funny. Because apparently the feet on the lady who he chopped the legs off of.
Or no, he says something. He says something like, "You're famous, so they'll come looking for you," or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters.
I assumed that it was like the shoes didn't fit the feet on the lady. Because there's that part where it shows him like trying to put the shoes on her feet and they keep falling off. But yeah, so they go in and she's been drugged and he is like lovingly like handling her feet, which I got to know what she was thinking in the moment, because she's supposed to be drugged and like can't speak or anything like that. And I mean, he is really pawing her feet. Like he's Quentin Tarantino or something.
They've all, like, at this point, they all know what movie they're in.
But yeah, they show up, they shoot him. There's a bit of a struggle with him and Kendall. who gets into trouble, and then Detective George comes in, puts a bullet in the dean, and then we start to kind of break.
Which is weird for a movie that is not short on buckets of blood. The headshot to the dean is just like someone flicked him with a little bit of something.
Yeah, it's a wimpy little kill. Like they couldn't have, sprung for a squib or something like that.
I mean, if it were a lady, she'd be exploding all over the wall, I guess.
It would have been like scanners. But yeah, so they're breaking it down. They got bodies they're taking out, and is it Kendall who does it? He sort of like casually puts his hand up on the bookshelf, and the bookshelf spins around. And the sort of
very elaborate.
Yeah, like it's oh my god, it's like a Vincent Price movie. And
he grabs the candelabra, and then the whole thing turns, and it's an old stone staircase.
Yeah, no, but it's actually the assembled body parts to like make a whole new woman. She's all like,
this makeup is like some real like 8th grade production of Frankenstein makeup.
Honestly, the zombie.
It's like I did it.
The zombie movie in Nightmare City. The makeup in Nightmare City is way better, and that's a crap ass zombie makeup setup.
Killer soundtrack, though. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah. But she falls over, and right before we cut out, they're about to leave. Kendall like forgot his glasses or something, and he turns to go get them, and then the corpse reaches up all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, and grabs him by the dick and rips it off.
Now, and then freeze frame, movie's over.
Yeah, freeze frame on his agonized face.
Now, here's the thing. This is all because of Carrie, because of the jump scare at the end of Carrie. That's why we have these in horror movies, because of that scene. Yes. Because it was so successful in Carrie, where at the end, Sue Snell goes to the grave, and she's standing there, and then the arm is up. But in Carrie, it's a dream. Yeah. In Friday 1, when he jumps up out of the water, it's a dream. Friday 3, it's a dream. It's always a fucking dream. Yeah. In this, it is a assembled body of lady parts comes to life for whatever reason to grab his dick, and then that's the end of the movie.
I will say this. I like that of everybody who got killed in this movie, he got it the worst.
I guess I don't know.
There is a real brazen hatred of women going on in this movie that is a little unpleasant at times, but they at least stop to rip the Casanova stud's dick off at the end.
I don't. This movie makes no fucking sense, and again, it's gonna sound like this is such a pile of horse shit as a horror movie, and it is. But it is fucking hilarious to watch. And it is so charming in its weird, offensive way that you're like, nobody should be watching this movie, and yet everybody should. And we should be watching it together.
Oh, yeah. It's
on primetime television.
I really, like, this is one of the things, like, if I ever get around to actually doing it, it's a thing that I still want to do is, like, organizing, like, movie screenings. This is one that's definitely getting shown, because it is.
Yeah, this is a movie that you really should watch with other people. Because it's so outrageous.
Like, did you go to see Evil Dead 2 at the Brattle with me?
No.
Oh, because we went. I went with a few people. I thought you were there, but
maybe I was.
We saw Evil Dead 2. It was either there or it was Coolidge Corner, but we went and the place was fucking packed. And that movie in a packed theater is awesome because like everybody's just going crazy the whole time. Like this movie would be perfect in that because it's not.
Yeah, these movies were made to be seen in theaters. They obviously there was no video at the time, and like they didn't anticipate that. You were supposed to see these with other people.
Yeah. So apparently, when this movie was like going into production, whoever was in charge of the studio that was producing it was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like,
and they were like, free trip to Spain.
And so they tested it in front of an audience with him, and the place was going bananas. Like,
do you know where that audience was, though?
Was it in Boston?
It was a 42nd Street theater.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
So
you took it to a grindhouse theater to show the movie. Like, of course they're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Half of them are homeless people who sleep there. Like,
yeah. It's oh man, it's such a demented piece of work. there were times where I was like, is this a college or is this a high school or is this a mental asylum? Like, it is really not clear where this takes place. Like, is it supposed to be Boston University or college? Like,
There is a scene at one point, it's the very beginning, it's when they take the glass out of, so I think some of the exteriors were actually shot in Boston.
they were all taken from another one of Simone's earlier movies that I think was actually shot exteriors, not in Boston, but like somewhere in America.
Because when they take the glass out of the truck, on the side of the truck, it says whatever phone number, and then it says Dedham, Mass.
Oh, no shit. So,
And
all right.
for those who do not know, Dedham is a suburb, I don't know, 20 minutes south of the city.
Yeah. That's wild. So, good God. Yeah. Pieces. A real ride. Like,
I recommend this movie to everybody. It is incredibly funny. It sounds like it shouldn't be. It probably shouldn't be. It's deeply offensive.
It's so wrong in so many ways. Like, but it's almost like gleeful in how like just against all sort of like notions of decency. Like, everything about it is just.
This is a nihilistic movie.
Yeah.
Like, they have no idea what's going on. They don't care. They don't care about continuity. They don't care whether you like it, what you think of it. It doesn't matter.
They don't even care if you notice that the knife folds when the guy stabs her in the head.
Nope.
Just the best.
Like this movie is this is the epitome of an exploitation movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense that like another one of this guy's movies ended up on Mystery Science Theater, because this very, very easily could have been a Mystery Science Theater movie if it weren't like so packed with violence and nudity.
Yeah.
Because like it's already pretty short. Like, it's not even 90 minutes. It's like 85 minutes. And if they were to trim like the really offensive stuff, this movie would be like 15 minutes long.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of at least 10 other movies that I find legitimately offensive before I would name this one.
Yeah. All right. That's Pieces. My God.
So good.
So good. Pieces. So what are we doing next? I was going to say, right before we did this, I was talking about we got to get out of 1982 because we are stuck in the year, and it's as great as it is. Maybe we can explore a little bit more.
Well, don't get too comfortable being out of 1982 because we're definitely coming back to it. But next time around, we're going to take a little trip to 1980 for Maniac.
Yes, Maniac. So in a sort of, we're flipping the script a little bit here. Where usually Dave's seen the movies and I'm coming in fresh. This time, this is a movie that I've seen numerous times. I enjoy it tremendously, but he's not seen it.
Mm-mm.
No. And I get to tell my Tom Savini story. So we'll see you back here in 2 weeks with Maniac.